Cool. Hey, welcome. This is episode 13 of The Option. I am Jason DeBeers. I got guest tech guy, that's Spencer Isley, son of Uncle Drew, Dr. Drew Isley. And you asked, you received, okay? People wanted Jason Olive. Say what's up, Jason Olive.
Hey, what's up, people?
I've got to give the people what they want. What's up, J.O.?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Well, I might be a little all over the place on subject matter, so we can, since it's a volleyball podcast, and I go in and out. Let's start with volleyball a little bit. We had a whole bunch of a little healthy debate about the NCAA rule change, which I think we're kind of on the same page with. Pay for play.
Well, not really pay for play, right? It's right of likeness.
It's a likeness, yeah.
Right of likeness, yeah.
Well, the act is called pay for play, but it's not what it means.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people don't know how long that fight's been going on. I mean, I founded the Black Student Union in 1994 at University of Hawaii, based on, being able to make money off of what you do.
Yeah.
As same way as you would. If you were, well, for me personally, I experienced it because I was making money on my likeness, and I went through those legal battles with the NCAA in order to do it. And then I dropped my sports scholarship, right? I dropped my sports scholarship and I took an English scholarship because I wanted the freedom that would give me. And I also wanted to free money up to get a couple pretty decent Israeli guys, which worked out. But all of a sudden you're really aware, like, wait a minute, I could write a book right now and I'm on a full English scholarship and I'm not making the school any money.
Right.
So why can I do that? Why can I take this English scholarship, go write a book? Or I was publishing actually poetry at the time, and winning little awards. Maybe it was $100 or whatever, but still you're making money. Meanwhile, we had a guy before I went to UH. Right, it was probably the best team that UH had ever had, with Allen and those guys.
Samoan dude, yeah.
Right, and they got kicked out of the tournament. Probably, definitely one top two teams in the NCAA that year, because a guy took $50 in a beach tournament. I think it was like $50 in prizes. Actually, I don't even think it was money. Right. So their whole careers go down the drain for that. But here I am on the other side, selling at an arena. We set the worldwide record for the sport. You got 10,000 people buying tickets, hot dogs, and beers.
Boy, I was looking for pictures. Looking for pictures.
And I can't go out and take money for, being in a picture for, let's say, ASICS, who's our sponsor, or anyone.
You're also doing some
else.
Modeling too, right?
Oh, I was doing a ton of it. So and that's what was the joke, was I could go out and get paid $25,000 by Armani, but I can't take a dime from ASICS or Bank of Hawaii, who's going to use my image anyway. Yeah. So it was a unique situation because my image had a value. It had a day rate attached to it.
Yeah.
And it was thousands of dollars. And yet I turn around and Bank of Hawaii has me on their, welcome to the bank card. So how is that, so you're it was very obvious to me what the problem was. And so we had founded the student union kind of based on that. And that was back in 94 that people have been having this discussion seriously.
Yeah. Well, it definitely helped University of Hawaii forfeiting your scholarship, because in light of the fact they're only 4.5, right? The men's volleyball is only allowed to have 4.5 scholarships. Yeah. Definitely forfeiting that helped you allocate maybe the sources to something else, which I thought is one of the advantages in how it helps smaller sports outside of football and basketball. Not to mention Division II and Division III. It's one of my arguments where, like, they're under the same guidelines, and Division III, they're not allowed to accept athletic scholarships.
Yeah. So, or the Ivy League either, but I don't know if that's going to directly relate. Those two things probably won't relate to each other. My situation was very unique. Yeah. But I also just won one of the biggest right of likeness cases in America. And there was a lot of good that came from that case, and there was a lot of really bad that's come from that case in terms of people's ability to defend the illegal use of their likeness. So we won over 7 figures, but within winning that, there was actually,
to what end?
Yes, to a detrimental end, to be specific. People have, through my case, lost a large amount of their standing as individuals in defense of their the illegal use of their image.
Right.
And that is a conservative court, corporatist ruling in the most liberal state in the union.
Right.
And you better watch out. Better watch your back.
Well, my argument, and I had Wendy Jones on the show. She's one of these volleyball power moms. Like, her kid won junior nationals twice, going to Stanford. Got a daughter playing for Hector at TCU, the beach team. So she had a lot to say about it, and she talked about the value of and how expensive an education is. And I bought into that argument because we were at a time period where tuitions, like, we got out just before they started hiking up stuff. Like me, I went to Hunter for a cup of coffee, but my real education came from Marymount Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
My BFA is in acting. They were the second-ranked program in the country. I auditioned, I got in. What the hell? Let's finish my education here. So, but with that being said, the problem I had was, I think as far as the government getting into it, they pick and choose. Like, my argument was, how old do you have to be to join the military? 18 years old, right? So if they're worried about protecting the children from harm, and at the same time allowing people on a list and put them in a position where they're in a forward unit where not only they're not protected at harm, they're in harm's way, what's with the hypocrisy? Why? I mean, why, if they're protecting people, why not make 21 years old the age where kids can serve in the infantry, maybe serve as mechanics or whatever until that, if people are worried about being exploited by other people. That was my second part of the argument.
Wait, you're saying that in relation to using your right of likeness?
No, if the rationalization is that kids don't get to profit from their likeness because there are predators out there and that they're trying to protect the best.
No, that's not a reason. That's not the reason. That's not a reason. That is. I don't even know who would argue that. It is such a far-fetched, made-up reason for this ruling. That's not it at all. I mean, I
don't want to sound biased, but the smart people, that's a far-fetched argument.
No,
but it's out there.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the idea behind the right of likeness argument is that it is making kids turn professional. Right. So it's jeopardizing their amateur status and all the kind of beliefs and ideas that we hold true to as a society in terms of amateur status in sports.
Yeah, that's like a Tim Tebow. That's his argument in that.
Right. So but they're two totally different things, right? So this was my case to the NCAA. I'm saying, no, using my right of likeness has nothing to do with me playing volleyball.
Yep.
And they said, prove it. And I proved it. And that's why I was able to go and make, hundreds of thousands of dollars using my right of likeness, even though I was a Division I athlete playing as an amateur status.
Yep.
So the line that has now been erased is that you are making the money based on your status as an athlete. Now, could have started an agency, right? And could have run the game, right? I could have said, look, this is how it works. Okay, you got a 15-year-old kid who we know is going to get a scholarship in whatever sport it might be. Let's pick a big one. Let's pick basketball, right? Yeah. He's going to get a full ride. Okay, kid's going to go to the NBA. Let's get him in a few modeling gigs right now. It can be $500, can be $1,000, could be $10.
Right.
But we're going to sign a contract, and he's going to do 4 jobs right now. Now, when he goes to the NCAA, we go, okay, so our guy is going to keep doing what he did before college because that's the ruling. Right. You cannot take a job away from an American.
Got it.
By some kind of regulatory legislation of a quasi legal entity like the NCAA, right?
Particularly in a venture that has nothing to do with the sport, like you just said.
Can't take it away, right? So then the question would be is, oh my, well, can you still go and do Nike, right? See, I was doing Nike, but I wasn't doing Nike as a Nike athlete. I was doing Nike in a Nike catalog.
As a model, yeah.
Right. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So, and this came up a couple times because one of the things that happened was Ralph Lauren started Polo Sport. Right. So the question came up again, mid Final Four run, like, oh, wait. And we had to go through the question again. And the answer was, hey, I did this before I ever came to college. I'm not going to stop just because I'm making money for you guys.
Agreed. Yeah. That, and for me, allow me to indulge and start on the athletic side. And you probably heard us on a lot of talk shows. I'm a big First Take fan. I can't help it. Max Kellerman's like, the president, the schools profit from it. Television profits from it. The coaches get, they're allowed to have their own radio shows and talk about it, and they profit from it. Max Kellerman is like, we're on First Take right now. We're not coaching. We're not even involved in the sport, and we're getting paid just talking about it.
Handsomely.
We're on this podcast right now. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. I'm going to get hits over YouTube. We're going to get paid just talking.
We had a coach that couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag come and show up and get six figures off our back. He had that gig for 15 years till they found out he couldn't coach, okay? I mean, give me a break.
They don't even have to be the best commentators either. It's like ball served, out.
Paycheck.
I teased Triborn about that like a year ago.
Leave Geeter alone.
Cool.
No, just love Geeter. He's the best.
And
he needs to come back to volleyball.
And I guess for me, and it's a cynical way of looking at it, but if people are operating under the assumption that these kids are making money anyway, don't punish them for it.
Well, how are they making money? A lot of these kids aren't. I mean, yeah. I got kids that have offers to Division I schools as juniors that we're looking for shorts for them in the back of, in the gym closet. Yeah, because they don't have it, man.
Yeah, remember that story about the kid from Baylor too? He was homeless. He was
I didn't hear that.
He was sleeping in people's dorms or whatever. So what happened was his friends all chipped in and they got him an apartment, so he didn't have to be homeless, and he got kicked off the team.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow.
There has to be, like you just said, and like you just did a couple of decades ago, and proved why I wish. Like, that kid's probably not smart enough to fight for himself. If he was smart enough to fight for himself, he wouldn't have been homeless.
I think the big one of the big tipping points for me was when they said that a kid had to go to college for at least 1 year before turning pro, like NBA. Yep. Okay, that was such a blatant money grab. So now you're mandating that the kid has to go to college, has to come play for you, has to sell tickets, and you're not letting him use his right of likeness that he could have gone and made money off right away, because he would have just gone straight to the NBA like Kobe, like
and the racial epithet crawls. So that's the racial epithet crawls up my neck on that. I can't help. Like, everybody's like, oh, everything's about race, and you shouldn't make everything about race. And I'm like, the two biggest sports that are affected by this, football and basketball, highly dominant in African Americans. Hockey, you're allowed. You can sign a contract and still go to college, and your contract is going to be there for you.
Golf, you can get $1,800 worth of equipment for showing up and signing your name.
But it's so damn convenient that it's the two most popular sports that we let's not bullshit ourselves. It's highly dominant in as far as quantitative ethnicity, African American.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't think that that's as much of a racial issue as it is a economics issue. Good. Honestly, I really do.
It irks me even thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think that that's more of a economics issue. Even the golf thing, I used to play a whole lot of golf, and one of the guys I used to play with was a coach at Emory when I was working out in Atlanta, and I was talking about it, like, how can your kids get so much in equipment, whereas, like, volleyball, you take over $250, you're disqualified, right? Yeah. And the thought there was that it was in order to get kids who couldn't afford the clubs to play. Right. That's not how it goes down. No. How it goes down is that all the kids with the $300 an hour teachers who make these teams that can afford the golf teams and have the Callaway or the Nike relationship, that those are the kids that are actually getting the clubs. But you could see how the spirit of it could be in the right vein. right?
Yep.
You really can. So I don't have so much of a problem with that. And with the basketball and the football, there's just so many millions to get made that it's more of an economic thing, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, since we're still on the subject of sports, and before I jump off the deep end and have fun on some of the stuff we agree and debate healthily on, I want just tell everybody how you started playing. Did it start in Jersey or
no? I'm born and raised in LA.
Okay.
And I went to a small little Catholic high school. Didn't have a sports team. It's called Daniel Murphy. Doesn't even exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go to a bigger school. And at the time, I was a soccer player. So I had played soccer my whole life. Played a little bit internationally for a U.S. club team, and then that was I think that was the summer of my freshman year. So it was while I was in between transferring schools, and we went and they decided, well, we did good against China. We did good against Malaysia, Singapore. We did this Asian tour, did really well. So let's go play. Let's go play Real Madrid next year. And we went and did that. And the only thing I try to visualize to people was if, a bunch of kids from Gardena went and played American football against Japanese kids. It's probably about the size of it.
Yeah.
Maybe East Indian
Good
kids.
luck with that.
Okay. Maybe the Japanese might have more structure. Okay. Because we went over there and it was a completely different sport.
Yeah.
First of all, we were used to playing in the big national stadiums, and we're on this big tour bus, and the tour bus goes by, I forget the name of the field, Real Madrid's home stadium. Looks like, the Coliseum, not the fake one, the real one.
Yeah.
And we went through the shadow of this stadium and we kept driving. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the shadow of that stadium going across our bus. And where are we going?
Who turned out the lights?
Oh, wait, where are we going? And we kept driving. And we ended up on this pitch that was immaculate, except there was no grass. It was the same kind of dirt that you would find on like an old school track, like that really coarse, like half made of glass clay, not baseball clay, but like that old track clay, but it was perfect. Right. And, big square goalposts, which back in the day, it was like the play with square goalposts was unbelievable.
So it was like every time you played, it kicked up dust.
So it was so perfect, it barely kicked up dust. But here's the thing. Okay. When you read these books like Talent Code or something like that, and it talks about organizations that train their kids with just in a way more pressurized, way more weighted way. Okay. You can't slide tackle on this kind of dirt. Okay. No. The ball moves. It's like you might as well be playing in a linoleum hallway. Yeah. So the ball is going super fast. You have to control it perfectly. And that's how these kids, we were playing the Real Madrid 18U, right? Okay. So these are the kids that they aren't on the 18. Oh, the Messis, they're going at 15, 16. Right. They're already. Right. And these kids were insane. And we just never seen anything like it before. I played goalkeeper, right? So I think the first half there was 24 shots on goal. One of the shots was they would run this play to a bicycle kick. It was a play because they did it 3 times in a row. And the second time the thing hit the goal and rocked the goal off the mount. So when I came back, I said, "Oh my God, this isn't going to work. No, this isn't the same sport. We're fooling ourselves in America." Yeah. And I went in for volleyball tryouts at St. Bernard's High School. And Coach Dana Lund, Coach Robbie Brown, who was from Punahou. Yeah. Okay. We're coaching there. Denny Smith. Okay. Mayor of Playa del Gundo. He was there coaching. The Lennons were around. They were all around. Everybody was around. Tony Mack from Hawaii. Danny Mack. They were around. They were all in the gym. And at that time, there was a very vibrant of volleyball scene and apply it. Now I knew nothing of this, so I was just walking into it. But things, tournaments like the Gillis, the 6-man. I played in my first 6-man in 88, 89. You know what I mean? All this stuff was brand new to me. And these teachers that just had this passion for the game. Because I was a goalkeeper, defending, cutting off angles, all that kind of stuff, that was nothing. I got
a
that.
Good defender too, because your matrix is already adjusted where that's moving slower and you're moving like a regular speed.
Yeah, and you're cutting off angles. It's all about cutting off angles. If you think about like staying outside of the block shadow, what's the difference between staying outside of the black shadow and lining up a wall and staying out the other side of the wall, knowing where your danger spots are as a goalkeeper? It's the exact same sport. Why do you look at some of the best liberos in the world? Look, they're American. They were baseball players. Look at Rich Lamport, right? Baseball player until 16. Someone handed him volleyball and try this. It's the way it is a lot of times, right? They were getting so much information from our other sports. I think that's the advantage to Americans, especially the men. Why we tend to do so well in national competitions is that other training. But so that's what happened. Got into it, and I remember I didn't know how to hit. So the Olympics, wasn't that far from the Olympics, the 84, right? So I went and watched Karch hit. Was like looking at his footwork. Okay, that's how you go and hit. And I tied a volleyball in a bowling bag to the top of my rim in the backyard. And I practiced. And then I went to practice and realized the net was only 8 feet, which was awesome. I thought it was. I didn't know.
Shut the front door.
I was like it's not. Yeah. So just by pure dumb as hell luck. Ended up training myself for a summer at a higher level and we went on a state run. I think I'm sorry, they didn't have state for our division there, but we went to the CIF finals. I think that was it was either that year or the next year.
Right. And
I got to go play. You know who I played against in the final?
Tell me.
Hambly, coach of Stanford. I'll never forget because he drew little mouth with the teeth on his hands.
So when he's up at the net,
blocking, he had these little hands, and I went, dude, I can't see those from up there. No, but then we played against each other from when he was at BYU. It was just been a fun thing, one of those fun things. And I was playing for Roof. Roof at the time. Who was on that team? Swadek was on that team. Canyon Seaman was on that team. Mike Ashenfelter was on that team. That's another guy that had a
Canyon had a cannon back then.
Oh gosh, yeah. So I think Craig Automolly on that team. Zach Small was he on? I mean, there were so many names on that team. I think maybe everybody went Division
Small played at Long Beach State at that time.
Yeah, I think won a ring with Stimfig. I think he was on that team.
I think they lost to USC. Remember the USC? They lost the first final, and the next year they repeated. Brent Hilliard. Hilliard. Opposite was Small, Zach Small, Stimpig.
You call him what you want. I don't know anything he did that was goofy. That was crazy.
No, he had a lefty approach.
Oh my god,
he had a lefty approach and he hit with his right.
He was unbelievable.
That's what we call goofy.
I got to play against him. One of the first games I started was against Hilliard. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Like you look at Phil, you look at Lion King. You look at their approach. No one really notices because they reach so high and they get up. Everybody looks with the waist up. But if you look at the footwork, they're taking a lefty approach.
Oh, that's interesting. With
their right. So that's what we call. They got it from surfers. It's a goofy
left, right. They're going.
Yeah, they're going right, left, right instead of left, right, left.
That's.
Mind you, and I'm not talking about high school kids who they need to rework this test. We're talking about the Lion Kings.
Yeah, I never noticed.
Phil's going to be in whatever Hall of Fame. Olympic gold medalist already solidified his legacy. Karch was half and half. Karch did whatever he could to approach that gave him momentum to go straight up. And if you looked at the 84 Olympics, look no further than Brazil, the finals against Brazil, where you were allowed to block a serve, by the way. Get into that later. But one approach, right, left. The other, two approaches later, left, right. And I'm just like, oh shit, Karch's a goofy foot. Now I'm like, I need to watch more of it. Okay, no, he's not. And I rewind. Yes, he was. And I'm like, oh, okay. The best player in the world did what he, I don't know if there was a whole lot of science behind it and why, but this is a generation why. But that was just like do what you tell. So I couldn't figure out why, but that's what he did. And you emulated that, and I got a picture behind you that shows that you did a pretty good job. I got it. Yeah. They don't show the other part. It's the other TV behind you. That was the one I wanted to pull up.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, what a great team. You got the number one out of Austria there, Nick Burr, who never did cover. So you had to put the ball away because he wasn't going to cover shit. So you had to put the ball away. And then
we didn't cover because you put the ball away.
No. We call him Princess Burger for a reason. No, he was awesome. Just
Eric
fantastic
Anderson.
guy. And then,
What's up, man?
Eric Fischel. And that was at Pepperdine, who never had success playing Pepperdine. Even when we were 2 and they were like nothing, I think they still beat us. I don't know why. It's just one of those teams. Never lost to Santa Barbara, as good as they were with Raji and everybody on that team.
It's like one of those
never beat
matchups.
Pepperdine. It was just you went in. I think as Hawaiian kids, kids out in Hawaii, we walked in and that floor was like bleach blonde, and we were just like, this doesn't work. It was like such a weird place to play. I just couldn't stand that gym.
Shout out to
great setter too, Chip McCaw.
Eric Anderson is looking right now. What's up?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, my boy from Russia.
That was always a
Boris V from Russia. He's watching.
There you go. Cool. Hey, Boris. That was always historically though great. Rivalry in Pepperdine, Hawaii, because the styles clash so much. One of my favorite games to ever watch was that Allen year. Allen, Carlos Brasino,
another heavy hit. Oh,
they had big Van Sickle, whose daughter is killing it for the Wahine now. Brooke, with Gary Van Sickle, Stickadine, Damian Hardy was on that team. Adam Lockwood was on that team. I'm going to forget a whole bunch of names, unfortunately. Papinga, both Papingas were on that team. But then they had this epic match. I think it might have lasted 5 hours, against Pepperdine. When Pepperdine had the rigs out of OCC and Punahou. I think Dumphy had just left to go coach the Olympic team. And you were looking at this very kind of structured Euro, US, UCLA / Pepperdine offense, defense against this Hawaii. We're going to teach you how to play and let you go. And you have
have at it.
Yeah. At one point in this game, Allen ends up in the middle of the court and passes a ball. He's front middle. He's got to be like 6 feet off the net. Passes a ball, turns his back to the net, passes the ball over his shoulder, turns back around and hits a quick. And he hits this thing like a foot out of bounds. So he hits it so hard, and it is such a ridiculously athletic and creative play. That the whole gym just goes quiet. This was club gym with people packed down to the court, right? So you had the bleachers, and then they used to let people sit on the floor. So probably 4 feet from the sideline, you have 3-4 rows of people sitting on the floor, right, surrounding the mat. It's just incredible. And that's what it was basically like when I got there, it went from we're gonna do what your coaches say to if you need a coach, you're in the wrong place. And that was a big transition. Like we're going to teach you how to play so that you don't need us and stop looking over here. Because we're not going to help you.
Good. Well, that's certainly I've been coaching 21 years, and somewhere in my 10th year, that's turned into my coaching style. Everything we need to know, we know in practice. If I see something like someone out of rotation or just someone whatever, I'll get up. But anything that I need to say can wait for the freaking timeout, because like you said, sometimes there are some teams that they're doing this all the time. They're not doing this. Right. So and that was a huge learning experience for me, because I tried to emulate styles of people who are good sideline coaches, some of the people who are standing up close all the time, free, this and that, just out. Sometimes just like you said, shut up.
Yeah. Well, I do think that's stylistic in the sense too of it's not whether a person is up or active. Like I'm a very active coach, but it's what's being said, Yeah. And it also depends on the level of your team a little bit. It's true. There's a lot of stuff that can wait. There's a lot of stuff that is just going to pull your team's focus. Like you were saying, you're going to pull your team's focus away from the game rather than
the more
concentrate.
Let me interrupt you. And the more experienced you are, the more you stop talking about the obvious. Someone sets their middle a little too low, and it gets touched up. You don't need to say, Hi. You don't need to wave down the setter and say higher. Why? Because he knows that, right? No, if your setter sets you a perfect ball and you hit it out, your setter doesn't come up to you and say, you got to hit that in. No. Why? Because you know.
Depends on your setter. Depends on your setter.
Carlos Briseño.
Yeah.
Eric Anderson just tagged Carlos Briseño. Like,
yeah. You got it. It depends on your setter. He might walk out. You play with Albert Hanneman, and let me know if he doesn't come up to you and tell you need to hit that
Forrest brought that for
that was great.
So from that to Hawaii. Played probably a little bit of indoor somewhere.
No, I never, I didn't. I played on the beach a little bit. Actually, I was training really hard with Jason Stimfig, who I had grown up watching. He was maybe only a couple years older than me, but.
Was he left-handed? Remind me. No, he's right.
No, I don't believe so. No, right-handed. But he was always such a great beach player that he would play with his dad out in all the tournaments out here in Playa. Like I said, back then, Playa, like especially Rosecrans, it was there was a lot of good volleyball playing play, especially at Rosecrans, and I say especially at Rosecrans because it doesn't really exist anymore. It's like a dead zone.
No,
but
no nets there, right? Yeah.
Well, no, there's nets, but see, right at Rosecrans, just north of that little, there's like a little
party bonfire area.
No, not there. That's
after that. That's after.
Yeah, right at basically if you would take Rosecrans down to the beach and then turn right.
Boom.
And there's a little lifeguard little station there, and then just north of that. Because you got to remember that back then there was an LMU program. There was a very good, you had Wayne Seligson out of there, you had Sio Sapoia, you had Craig Almali actually went there. You had a lot of great LMU players, coming out. Chief was out there. You had those guys would come down and train there.
Yeah.
And so when we were younger, we'd come down and, see if we could pick up a game playing against playing.
Well, the women's beach team still practices there. I was the director of operations for LMU last year.
Oh, okay.
John Mayer, he's the head coach.
Oh, John, I just saw John. Yeah, I just walked into his office just a couple weeks ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Like everything you think you know about him, you're right. He's a nice guy.
Are they practicing at Rosecrans or are they down farther, at Toes?
Right.
A
little bit after.
Yeah, I think.
Aaron Mansfield, his assistant.
Okay.
Who I think is one of the best 5 indoor coaches I ever met in my life. A lot of people just don't know about him.
Uh-huh.
His brothers, you guys, he's from a coaching family. So he's the assistant, but he's the head coach of the LMU women's team. Betsy Flynn.
Yes. No, yeah.
So I was with them last year.
I've been trying to recruit them, trying to get us, our St. Bernard's girls being there and trying to revive the program and trying to get them up on the LMU campus to watch, whatever they're doing, practices or whatever's going on.
He just had a second kid, so he's just one of those things where he's when you're a full-time coach and you're trying to play full-time dad at the same time. Like me, I'm lucky. I got a nanny, and we got a little. Let's just say we got a little money put away for a rainy day.
Right.
The best way we know how to put it. He's a busy dude. He's a busy dude.
Well, he's got a.
They beat BYU last year, which got him in the dance. They upset BYU.
Yeah.
And they first round NCAA they beat Duke, and that earned them the right to get their head chopped off by Stanford, who won the whole thing.
No, they've been on the upswing with that program. I think it's been good, and they do a really good job with the juniors in the neighborhood. They have a really good. They have a really popular summer program for the little kids that, a lot of our LAVBC girls go in there like 9, 10. Okay. And we really encourage them to, they didn't quite understand how competitive it was at 10 already, so we were like, okay, can you please put the baby balls away and get the U12 balls out? Because you gotta, right. You need to come and watch these games. It's crazy, so we're trying to get more and more involved with their pipeline, and they have just last summer they started doing some more kind of elite type clinics for the advanced 10s, 11, 12. I mean, as you know, if you're not running like a bunch left spread right at 12, you're losing.
That was a huge
it's crazy, man. These girls in particular are so advanced.
I was never that good at 10 or 11 years old.
Didn't even play. Never even touched.
I coached NCAA for 15 years, so when I moved here, and you got to mix it up, you got to coach everybody. I was like, that ball's the size of her. How is she using her hands? The little girl jump setting, just throwing it up. 10, 11 years old. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Cali
Cali ball is just it's really good. You know, I'm probably the biggest fan of what they've been doing in Texas. Maybe not, you know, all
like
these
6'9"
well, I mean, you know, they are going to run these girls into the ground, and they are going to have a lot of injury problems doing what they're doing. I think they need to back off. Think they need to adjust their schedules. I think they need to give more priority to the high school programs in Texas. They're fighting that fight right now, and I think it's a fight that needs to be fought because it is not where it needs to be. And some kids are getting run into the ground more indoor. Okay. But when you look at the skill level that they are taking, like their 16s to, I mean, these girls. I've seen blocks from Texas 16s that are perfect. They're perfect.
Yeah.
They're perfect. They're perfect. They're Division I, perfect blocks. And I love how they've tapped into the African-American community there. It's become middle blocker. You out there, it's like, you know, you want to go buy a middle blocker, it's like, go to Texas. Like, you'll find one. It's an amazing job.
Yeah.
But Cali ball is, you know, it's pretty incredible right now. And what
Cali has
clubs are doing.
Cali has but underneath that, Cali has a really big challenge / a really big problem right now. Quantitatively, they have the talent. So the more people you have, the better the chance that the highest level is going to be here. Now here's the problem. Sometimes we have to separate some of these people who are doing real coaching and who are fucking glorified babysitters. Okay, if you look at the national rankings right now, the top 2 teams right now are in the third, as far as power conferences are concerned. You have Texas and you have Baylor at 1 and 2.
Oh,
and then in the Big Ten, you have 5 teams in the Big Ten in the top 10, and then you have Stanford.
Right, but you can't. But I gotta say, you can't call college success based on location because college is recruiting from around the world.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to stop at club. I mean, once you get to college, you're recruiting from.
But if you look at AAUs, all right, let's look at AAUs. Let's look at regional talent coming to play these beach volleyball national events. I'm part of that.
Okay.
I'm Duran Forbes runs that. She's the founder.
Yep.
She's also the program director for Endless Summer. I'm the volleyball skills coach. So I'm with Jeff Samuels and those guys. Pompilio might go back as far as you. He was Jose Leola's coach. 6'9" man. The girls from Texas are murdering it right now. Like every age group, they're in the semis and finals. LA Beach, is that your outdoor? Is that your outdoor?
No, that's Stein.
Metzger.
Stein
I just wanted to know if that was
no connection. We did the LA VBC thing and indoor and all that, and I didn't even know he had Los Angeles Beach.
Most recently.
I didn't know. So
most recently.
Yeah, so it's very similar name, but no.
I would say like last 2 years, to the best of my knowledge. He's at UCLA, of course. He took over the P1440 developmental program right now.
I saw that.
So
great guy, great coach, amazing player.
So really, what I really want us to do is just make sure we don't just have the best kids try out for the best clubs and then just assign someone who's a former great player. I want these people to do their fucking jobs.
Well,
I'm sorry.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough though because there's no money in it. So it's really you almost have to afford the ability to go be a coach. It's not easy to do. You have to really have your heart into it.
Very true. He just said very true, J.O.
Well, you have to have the passion. You're not going to do it without the passion for it. And then you have to be able to afford to be a coach, which is tough. I mean, one of the reasons I created my own club versus sending my daughter to someone else's club wasn't because there weren't great clubs around. There's a lot of great clubs around, but I wanted to try to create a little bit of a different model for coaches to do what they love, right? And I wanted to do that on my own terms, and so that meant that I have to take 3 years. Last year being the first, this being the second, probably another year, maybe 4 years, and put in all the sweat equity and everything to get it off the ground till you get to 5 teams, and then you can afford to do that and hire the right people to be real teachers of the game. I think we might actually start that this year, which would, in my mind, be a year to 2 years early. In what we do is we bring in good young players who we have some word about in terms of their wanting to teach and bring them in to do clinics. And through the clinics, which we open to everybody, which we open to the public, and they're pretty inexpensive, $40 or less. And what we also use that as a way to identify coaches that we want to put in the pipeline. Because I don't want people can say that being a Division I player doesn't necessarily make you a good coach. And I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Neither does never playing at all.
Agreed.
Okay. And so there, but there is one thing. Yeah. I mean, they say that, right? But then they carve out Spara and they carve out Karch and they carve out Robin and Mo, yeah. and they carve out, who I just mentioned at Stanford.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Name escapes.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, all these guys, women and men who were great collegiate players. But point being, there are things that you cannot understand unless you've played under the pressure of that kind of performance. And that includes crowd pressure, that includes the myriad of things that go along with the Division I program. In the year over year competition, I mean, hell, there wasn't a single year a guy that wasn't 6'8" to 6'10" that didn't come into UH to take my spot.
Right.
There wasn't a single year that didn't happen.
Yeah, healthy.
Right. So
healthy competition.
That kind of competition, and that kind of having to continually work on your game away from the game and all that kind of stuff. That's stuff that you cannot understand unless you've been involved in a high level program. And so, I think that we can coach the players how to be coaches easier than I can coach a coach on how to understand what it's like to be a player.
Right.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
I certainly at that level, I certainly agree with that. I mean, the higher the level, the more we don't need a coach to understand that. Like you look at Chuck Daly, Detroit Pistons, never dribbled a basketball in his life. 2 rings, manage these incredibly heightened personalities if you look at the first dream team.
Yeah.
You want to talk about taking these egos and finding a way to make them play together.
I would say, and this
Jordan,
is,
Johnson,
and
Bird.
Listen, I've got jumped out of coach online chat rooms for saying this, but I think it's easier at the pro or the Olympic level, right? At the pro or Olympic level, that's more of a tactical and personality management thought. Okay. Yep. You're getting to select the best of the best of the best from a skills and personality level.
Right.
The rest is management and
maybe personality
strategy.
Right. Maybe personality rides the fence on that.
It's on you. You chose them.
That's true.
You had your pick of the litter.
Or did you?
You had your pick of the litter.
Or does the coach choose them? Depends on the country.
You had your pick of the litter. I'm talking about the U.S. You had your pick of the litter, man.
Right.
You can pick whoever you want. You can put whoever you want into your feeder system.
Good. Well,
right.
Well, good, because if they lose, who does it fall on?
The coach, 100%. 100%. 100%.
Never. I learned something in the Army.
I'm sorry. You do not medal. If you do not medal in this on the men's or women's side. If you do not medal in this country, it's an embarrassment. Yeah, it's an absolute embarrassment.
And it's a coach.
We have the biggest, broadest, strongest organization with the biggest, broadest, strongest athletes on earth. And this is a sport that we should absolutely own. If you don't have 5 guys out there touching 12-4 and have absolutely eradicated the 10-foot line by next Olympics.
Yeah,
that is a organizational failure.
The organization fails when they just fall in love with
fails at the youth. Fails at the youth. It fails at the youth.
I disagree because for every one person we have that reaches 12-4 and does that, Russia has 5 middles that actually receive a platform serve receiver. We're not where we fell in love with just teaching positions. So I'm not really on board with that, and that's where I kind of disagree with that.
I mean, look, there's going to be a big battle, right? The seesaw battle between is a libero worth it, right? Mm-hmm. Is it worth it to take offense off the table?
Right.
I've never thought so.
Okay.
I never thought that it was. I think that you need 5 attackers coming at the ball.
100%.
Right.
The whole house.
So the whole
net.
house. Right.
Yep.
And, so you have that with, we could name the names of the Nygaard. You have that. It's not like these guys don't exist. I mean, there are some unbelievable, the middles who have the height and the tenacity and the ability to, play the ball at a very high, at a 2-on-2 professional beach level, right? Because that's what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
And but the thing is that my biggest problem with the youth has been for decades, right? And everybody who knows me knows this, that I've been saying it since the 90s, that our funnel for volleyball is too small. And when I walked into the gym about, I don't know, let's call it 5 months ago. It was a couple months before the NBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude stood up, grabbed the rim, and started stretching with his feet flat on the floor. Okay, let me repeat that again.
Yeah, let that swirl.
RJ Barrett was sitting right next to him.
Okay,
pretty big dude.
Yep.
Okay, this guy stood up, grabbed the rim, and started stretching with his feet flat on the floor. Taco, 7'6".
Yep.
The guy didn't even get drafted. The guy's on a practice player.
Jeez.
Right.
Yeah. Oof.
Contract with whoever it is at this. I think you got traded. Was the Knicks? Maybe you got traded to somebody else.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. He's not the only one. I mean, 7'6" is rare on this planet, but there's a slew of guys who are 6'9", 6'10", 6'8", grabbing quarters off the top of the backboard, who've never seen a volleyball in their life.
All right.
Never been handed a volleyball. Here you go. So our funnel for the level of athletes that have been coming into the sport has been so small on the men's side. Right. And when are our national bodies going to make a serious and concerted effort to reach all of America, particularly basketball playing America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we do a when/how? Or is that a joint thing? A when and the how?
Well, no, I mean, because I think you have a lot of the pieces there. One of the pieces is Starlings, right? I mean, great piece. It's just it's everywhere and it's systematic, right? Yeah. And so, I jumped back into this because my daughter. Yes,
it's like Omar Vargas.
I mean, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, Starlings is everywhere. It's because one of the biggest barriers to playing high level volleyball and getting into the club is the price of it. So, how do we entice clubs? Is there a way at the national level to entice clubs, our good clubs, our big clubs, and say, hey, we want to help. We're going to help you out. Maybe it's not just a Starlings. Maybe it's like us, or maybe it's like a Mizuno or LAVBC or SCVC or one of these clubs. Let's talk. I'm talking about clubs who people we know own these clubs, right? Yeah. And saying, hey, governing body, we're going to give you. We know it's $4,000 to your club, and Starlings is $1,500. We're going to give you. How about we'll give you $1,500? You take them on as well. Boom. There could be some kind of national scholarship system to start getting these players, and targeting the boys. I think the women's side has done a much better job across. You can just look at the college teams and see that, but we are leaving so much talent, athletic talent, and ability on the sidelines for our sport. And we're still doing okay. We're still doing okay.
It's true.
We're still doing okay, but we all know that we're coming into this next Olympics as fans going, how's this going to go?
It's supposed to be
how's this going to go? How's this going to go? How's this going to go? And I think I'm not saying that I think they are the best. I mean, I have nothing but love and respect for all of our athletes that make these teams and dedicate their whole lives to them and are playing amazing world-class volleyball. But the pool has been limited, and we have to expand the pool. You look at any sport that has done a great job of expanding the pool of athletes that are coming into it, and all that sport has done is rise, more money, bigger prizes, bigger prizes.
Like MMA.
And then you look at volleyball, and we're on our tour 3.0, 3.5. Now we're bifurcated, maybe trifurcated tour, right? So it's for lack of abundance. It's for lack of money, right? The pool of athletes has been shrunken. So therefore the pool of interest is shrunken. You take Tiger Woods out of golf, good luck to your country club.
Yeah, I mean,
good luck to your country club.
What's the reason that
he comes back in? All of a sudden, you got 100 more kids out on the range.
And there are people that move the sports needle like that. I call them needle movers.
Yeah, and you don't know where they're going to come from.
I mean, if you can guess about me, like someone who's not into golf, the reason why I would watch golf, you look at me and say, Jason, Tiger Woods, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Tennis. Look no further. I mean, Federer is like this international citizen of the world, and I like him. But I started watching it again because I have boom periods for tennis. Serena Williams.
Yeah.
You know, I was more part of the Sampras Agassi era when the Americans were going at each. Steffi Graf, if you remember, just 100%. Watching that girl not get paid by the hour.
100%.
Just 41 minutes, 48 minutes. Boom, pow, 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 pow. Caught a 3-piece in a soda.
That's what I'm saying. You never know where they're going to come from. You never know where that personality, McEnroe. You know, you never know where that personality is going to come from. New York? What? Okay. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, you just never know where that person is going to come from to move the needle. Mm-hmm. But one thing you know, if you don't keep expanding that pool, then other sports are going to beat you out. You know, so I think that's where we're all seeing some frustration. The good news is that it is absolutely exploding at the youth level. It is exploding at the youth level. You know, we're like playing mostly U12 teams, and God, I mean, you just walk into these gyms and you're in one site, and at the one site there's 36 courts and there's 4 teams on that squad, and there's no way to do it. I mean, I have such great respect for SCVA because of they're onboarding thousands of teams. It's unbelievable. I mean, and you know that's just half of California. Yeah, that's just Southern California.
It's just SoCal.
yeah.
Endless
so
summer.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Hey, I'm excited about beach volleyball right now. Like Endless Summer. The founder of BVNE is also the program director for Endless Summer, and we lead the country in commitments per capita. We have 15s and 14-year-olds just killing it right now. I'm very happy.
When you say commitments, what
commitments? Well, we have a 22-person group, but we have 8 commitments. Scholarship offers.
Oh, really?
People sign. So I got 4 girls going to SC.
And how amazing is that?
4 girls going to USC.
Didn't even exist 10 years ago.
2 Long Beach State. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Well, once it became an NCAA sport, those club sizes have tripled.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was actually running Volleyball magazine when that happened.
Yeah.
Right. And I was
with Chen. Were you with Chen? Was Chen with Ed Chen? Was he with you then?
No. That was much later. That was later that they took over it. It was owned by Matador, a bunch of people that had no business being in the volleyball business. But the articles that I was trying to get written at the time would have been pretty interesting, because when it first happened, the coaches, you would talk to the coaches of Division I programs, and they didn't even know how their scholarships were supposed to be used. Could I use this as an indoor player and then have them go beach? Or let's say I'm full of my indoor scholarships. Can I take a beach scholarship and give it to a girl that I know she has to play beach, but then can I have her play on the indoor team? There was all these questions that were floating around. It was just like a bunch of gold was dumped on the table and everybody started grabbing it.
Look,
you know?
You and me could take over Long Beach State and have that question.
And it's organized itself, you know, which is really amazing thing about volleyball is that volleyball, I think, really attracts organized and structured mentalities. Right. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our sport is kind of like the minds and mindsets that it attracts to it. So all of that, it kind of got figured out on its own. It's like the sport didn't need the NCAA so much to come in and say, this is how you do it. It kind of figured itself out really quick, and then regulations slowly got put in place. But how incredible that, you know, you'd be able to send another 8 girls to college for free for learning how to play on the beach, you know. That's incredible. And now that it's expanding, you know, in the sand, you know, it's, of course, you know, it's called sand volleyball. We call it beach volleyball because we have beaches, but you know, sand volleyball, and like you're saying, now girls from Texas are going to you know,
and I'm
school for free for playing sand volleyball.
Right, and it's right before my eyes right now. Again, I have the privilege of covering it right now. I called the Big West on Todd Rogers, Cal Poly went against Hawaii. That wound up 5th pair the last team playing 19 up game 3, game 3 to 15.
Right.
So man, these it was so exciting. It was
Right.
just like, it's like the best thing that happened to me that didn't happen to me.
Yeah, well, Todd too. You just got to feel for Todd every time I
Yeah.
see him in the San Luis Obispo game.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Santa Barbara, get your
Yeah.
act together. Get
Coach-
a beach team.
Yeah.
you
Coaching's where I got
got the
belongs,
greatest. You got the greatest player.
Yeah.
One of the greatest players in American history. Like, just
And the
give
true-
him a beach team.
And the true coach. And the true coach.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's
And-
always been that way.
I'd like to leave volleyball at this, co-signing on what you just said. Even with all the lack of moving parts or where we can get better, if you look at the last, let's just call it from 2004 Olympics, the biggest volleyball stage on earth, we agree. 2004, 12, 16. There's been an American team in every semifinals.
Well, since '84, we got
even-
five medals.
Oh no,
since
2000 we lost every
84?
freaking match.
Yeah, but
Okay,
I mean, just saying, you got 5 medals.
Yeah.
It's
3 gold, 2 bronze.
good, man.
3 gold, 2 bronze.
I
You're
mean,
right.
we do our thing for a sport that, has been a second tier sport in this country without a pro tour that's been able to keep itself alive for more than 5 years at a span, and it's the players, the
Yeah.
players keep it going.
No
There's
doubt.
I don't see an NBC sign hanging behind you right
No.
now. I mean,
Nope.
it's you have a love of the game, and you've
Yeah.
created this opportunity for people to come in and talk
Yes.
volleyball, and here we are. We show up. We're
Oh,
passionate about
Put the
it.
camera on me. Did you hear that, NBC? Get your shit together.
Don't sell out. You'll be doing basketball in a year. Like Geeter, get back to volleyball.
Oh my God. So one of the things I wanted to touch on, and it's funny, but at the same time, it's serious. Steering completely away off the cliff from volleyball
Oh yeah.
onto what's happening in and out of Hollywood with Epstein.
Oh.
Found dead in his whatever. I'm not gonna look down a rabbit hole and be like it wasn't a suicide or whatever.
You just went from volleyball to Epstein, and you said
Yeah.
you're not going to go down a rabbit hole. Okay.
No.
Here we
no,
go.
Oh,
All right. I'm with you, Jay.
Shit, you got me.
I'm with you.
You're the only one with me right now.
No, I tell you. I mean, this is my daily life. I go to a reading. I'm talking to a bunch of producers, and then I go and coach a bunch of 15-year-old girls. My whole life is like this.
The cool thing is your empathy allows me to go.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to tell you where I'm not going to go. I'm not going to. The rabbit hole is whether it was a suicide or wasn't. I'm not going there. What I wanted to go is that your involvement in Hollywood and film and television, and the things he was involved in, and how it started the Me Too movement. I know you have a lot of opinions and takes on.
You talking about Weinstein?
Weinstein.
Weinstein. Okay,
Right.
very
Oh,
different from
Weinstein.
Epstein. Yeah,
No, Epstein.
very different.
Sorry, Epstein's the guy with the island, right? That was the guy with orgy.
Yeah.
That was
Well, I mean, oddly enough, I ran in both circles in the sense that, when I was, again, this is 94, right? So 94, I overnight I'm at the top of the fashion industry. Well, Trump, that was his thing. He was always trying to get into the parties. He was always trying to get around the women, get around the I don't know what you want to say it, the glitter of the fashion industry, right? So a lot of what he's doing comes directly from fashion, right? So you would say there's two different thoughts. Let's just look at it through the guise of entertainment and fashion.
Please.
Okay. There's guys like me at the time who would be like, okay, hey, Tommy Hilfiger wants you to do a campaign. No, I'm not going to do that. Oh, they'll pay you X amount of money. I'm not going to do that. Why aren't you going to do it? Because it's fake. Like, what do you mean it's fake?
Glad you
asked.
asked.
Well, Armani wants you to do a campaign. Okay, they're going to pay you a third of the money. I'm doing it. Well, why are you doing that? Because Armani's real. See, when I walk out of the runway in Armani designed that. And the 80-year-old seamstress, right? She sewed that to fit me perfectly. I was standing right there. That is an original Armani garment. When I go and do the first, actually, ever Tommy Hilfiger show.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, we'll pay you extra to be the first one out. Cool. All right. I'm walking out on the runway, and the dude is cutting the Levi tags out of the jeans
Come on.
before I step on the runway. They didn't even care enough that it was all fake to cut the tags out. Okay. And then you got a company that's being bankrolled by Samsung, right? Zaibatsu for all intents and purposes. And it's a marketing job. That stuff is all getting, made in factories and no one cares. They didn't even make it. They didn't design it. They're just ripping off everybody's designs. And it's going to become a $1 billion brand. Well, that's what Team Money's about. Team Money's about, it doesn't matter where this comes from or what it really is, as long as I can convince you it's something else. Right. And so that's kind of what fashion became a lot of, especially with licensing. Right. So then you'd have like Calvin Klein. That's when you started having all these different labels. So there would be let's say Ralph Lauren purple label. Okay. Ralph is designing that. You're in there and he's designing it and you're in the fittings in purple, right? When you go to the store and buy Ralph regular polo now, that's been licensed out. So most of them, like Calvin Klein and all these guys, and again, these are guys I'm working with personally, they by that time, and this was mid 90s to late 90s, owned less of their company than a hedge fund might, or, some other licensing entity, but it was basically hedge funds that were owning all these brands. Right. It wasn't really the person doing the work. Right. Okay. So,
and that's where the shift of the power.
Because it was all about the money, right? So it's all about the money. You can make a ton of money fooling people that this really means something by hiring the right people and giving the right look and the right sound bites and saying the right things. You can make a lot of money and all the pay for play with the magazines and stuff like that.
Brand does that.
Well, that's different people's different takes on what it is to be a brand. Romeo Gigli would never do that. He never even advertised, which is why he would never make the big Vogues or stuff like that. He was like, I'm not going to pay for play. Agree. I'm not going to pay for play. And you have different versions of that. You have people that do it one way for a while and then they sell out, say Donna Karan or whatever, and that's all good. It's all whatever you want to do, but let's recognize it for what it is, right? So at that time, doing all these parties and that group was around, all those guys, all this stuff that's happened with some of the big hip hop names. I don't even want to say the names and all the stuff about the rapes and all this kind of stuff. It's all true. It's all true, man. Yeah. It's all 100% true. These dudes weren't even let in to certain levels of party. You're not gonna walk in and grab Naomi like that. You're not going to do it. No. You can do it. You're messing around with these little low level whatever. Chippies, So you got a woman that she's got the same visa as Kate Moss. The girl never made over $100,000. She's in America on the same visa as a multi-millionaire as Kate Moss, as Elle. People putting as Naomi, and she's on the same visa. No, dude, that's a racket. They used to sell visas they used to use fashion, right? And that's what these people use, clearing houses for visas, right? Because it's just what people did. And then certain people started hosting, basically hostess agencies off that, right? And
that's where he came into play.
They're in the White House. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that was rampant in New York, right? Weinstein's a different dude, man, because it's like even in this comedy. So I wrote, produced, directed my first comedy pilot, right? And we talk about this because the first one I wrote this in 2016, and this was a story that I was basing on a story of one of my girlfriends who's a very, very, very well-known actress, but an actress who sometimes would play the game. And by the game, I mean, it's like you're in a business, you have your assets. One of them is that everybody would love to sleep with you, and they play that game, right? Some women don't at all, right? They're like, not at all. From the game. Not at all, right? Okay, and they're just as famous, right? Just different people, different personalities. And so I wrote this thing about a woman who was an actress that was kind of on the line, right? She had a relationship with a guy who was the head of a studio, and then she didn't want the relationship to continue. And the guy out of spite goes, okay, well, your next 3 movies are going to Miley now, right? And so it was something in the middle, right, which, is true life happening somewhere, right? For sure. And so we talked about this thing. Well, we didn't shoot it in 2017. In 2017, this storyline broke all over the world. That's when Weinstein broke. Everybody knows it's been going on, right?
It's a dirty little secret.
Everybody knows it's been going on, and everybody knows that some people are playing the game, and some people are victimized by what these types of guys are doing, and it you know, it's gone on in the fashion world too. Not as quite a high profile, but guys that I worked several times for, like Bruce Weber, who I love. He's in court right now on X number of sexual harassment cases. Bruce Weber is a guy that I reached out to and said, hey man, you know, what's going on? Like, do you need help? Like, do you need someone to talk on your behalf? Because I've seen the way that's gone down sometimes, a few times. Mm-hmm. And I've also been in the room when the guys who are kind of halfway engaging in that are talking amongst ourselves, right? Jeez. Right? And how they're gonna play this dude who is gay with a wife and a kid, right? And gonna play upon his emotions, right? And keep this gig going.
For how long?
You know, how many? Yeah. I've seen it all. And because I was an athlete, right, and didn't know anything about, even though I was born and raised in LA, I didn't know anything about the entertainment. All this was coming as shock to me.
Yeah.
Like people back then, they were like, Jason, you never talked. Like we thought you were so stuck up. I was in awe. No. I was in shock and awe for years and years. It wasn't until later when I finally got over all the shock and awe that I found myself as a person and could talk and be, you know, be fun and go out. You know, people who know me now, know J.O. now, like they would never understand like who I was when I was 20 years old. Okay. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, having all that thrown at you and seeing it and never saying a word, just being a fly on the wall. Mm-hmm. And also having to interact with it personally. For me personally, like I was raised in a household where my mother worked for LARF and Planned Parenthood. Okay, the balloons for my 13th birthday were condoms filled with helium because she wanted all my guy friends to understand what time it was. Yeah. Okay, so I grew up like a very open, you know, there's nothing wrong with the human body type thing.
No.
So when a guy would come to me and be like, hey, you know, I'm going to reach down your pants to make sure that these underpants fit. I mean, like, no, man, I'm good.
Nah, yeah.
You know, it didn't become a thing to me where, listen, hey, I get it. You like guys. That's fine.
Yeah.
I like women.
Yeah.
That's fine.
There are other options.
These are my underwear, and you're not going to touch them. That's as far as it went. And this is not to put anybody down or to say this is a right or wrong way. I'm just saying my personal thing was, I'm not going to judge you.
No.
I'm not going to do that. Now, listen, when I was working, like, I'll never forget Bruce, okay? Here's what Bruce, okay? Bruce is saying, Bruce is, you know, Jason, come over here. Put his arm around my shoulder, you know, massaging my shoulder. How you doing, Bruce? I'd put my hand around his shoulder. I'd massage his shoulder. I don't have any problem with the fact that he's gay. Maybe he doesn't want the rest of the world to know.
That's cool.
But you've never seen him shoot a guy that didn't look like a marble statue out of like a Michelangelo. That's Abercrombie and Fitch. At the time, we were shooting Banana Republic. Okay. Banana Republic. They
is that
say,
in New York?
I'm in Hawaii. Okay. I get called to the 80s office. They're like, you got cleared by the NCAA. I'm like, cool. I get up to leave. No. Puts me on the phone. You're on a flight. I'll see you at 5 a.m. in LA. I'm like, where am I going? It's my agent at the time. You're going to New York to shoot with Bruce Weber. It's the #1 campaign in the world. Who's Bruce Weber? I'll bring a book.
Yeah.
I'll meet you at the airport.
Integrate your
okay.
brand. Yeah.
I show up. The dude's got a book. It's like 3 inches thick. Okay. Like I'm studying fine art photography, right? This dude's got a book. I've never seen a photo book. My dad's born in 1929 in Kentucky. Okay. My mom's white. My dad's black. My dad's black from Kentucky. Is conservative, church-going people for the most part, right? And my agent's gay, and he's brings out this book, and every picture is one homoerotic photo after another. My dad's like, what's this? You know, and I'm like, I'm already in LA.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get on the flight to New York.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he goes, well, how much do you get paid to do this? And he goes, well, $10,000 a day. He goes, oh yeah, he can do it. Closes the book in hand. Because my dad was born at the end of the Depression. Okay, yeah. He was like, okay, you go do it. Okay, my mom much more open, you know, hippie kind of that whole thing, right? So those are two sides. Those are two sides. So yeah. So these are the two sides. These are two sides, right? So I go there, and this is where my relationship with Bruce in particular starts. Okay, so this particular time, a few years later, puts the hand around his shoulder. Now I've worked with him a few times. We have a wonderful relationship. I know he's gay. He knows I'm not gay. I can still love him. I can still put my hand around each other. You know, we can hug and kiss when we see each other. That's all cool, right? And he goes, Jason, listen, I'm thinking I want you to do this. And I'm like, Bruce, we're shooting Versace.
Versace.
Listen. Yeah, right. He goes, I know. And listen, there are a string of unbelievable museum quality nudes that are part of Versace's the campaigns, particularly with Mark Schenkenberg. Okay, so I'm kind of giving him shit. I mean, you know, at the time I'm ripped, like, you know, this is, you know, I'm, you know, got this like Olympiad body and the whole thing, and he goes, no, I know, but I was thinking you and Stephanie Seymour. And I look at him and I go,
let's do it.
Absolutely. Right? And it's not like tomorrow.
No.
It's just like Stephanie is right there. Stephanie, we're shooting out on the water. Okay. And Stephanie's sitting right there. Okay. This is right when November Rain. She had just married Axl Rose, the whole thing. Okay.
My God.
So then he goes, but I want you to meet somebody first. And this person can corroborate this story. He goes, come over here. He's from Hawaii too. And I go, okay. Now I walk over, this good-looking blonde dude sitting down by the water by himself, and I think he was even in a Versace like felt trench coat jacket, looking geek, you know. And I sit there. Well, now you got these two guys, and I could tell he's an athlete, dude. I don't know what he does, but this dude's ripped. And I'm sitting there, so you know we aren't talking to each other.
No,
we're just sitting there, and a couple minutes go by. I go, so what do you do? No, surfer. Oh, cool. How are you in this? I don't know, man. It's called
just lucky, I guess.
And Bruce would do that. He would take guys that weren't quote unquote models, and after you work with them, all of a sudden you're a big model. But he would turn you. So he goes, I'm like, cool. What do you do? I play volleyball. Where? Hawaii. Oh, I live in Hawaii. Oh, you're a surfer from Hawaii? He goes, yeah. What's your name? Laird Hamilton.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Come on.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So this is when I'm in Laird. Okay. So now the first campaign comes out, okay? And Banana Republic refuses to run the pictures because Bruce has taken me and shot me with this white Israeli girl. Will not run a black guy and a white girl in their first crossover. This is when they stopped being the Safari company. They were bought out by I think it was Federated at the time, which is at the end of the day is private equity, right?
Yeah.
Buys all these companies, them, Gap, I think Macy's, and they're all part of the same company, right? And now we're going mainstream, which meant they were going to rip off all the designers and hire a bunch of high fashion models to rebrand the whole thing, right? So, okay, won't run it. Well, I get a call when I go back to school that like, how is it that you're the talk of the entire fashion industry? Because what Bruce did was he went and said, listen, if you're going to do this, if you're going to base this decision of whether you're not going to run my photos on a racial issue, this will be the last time I shoot for any of your brands.
Wow.
Okay.
That's cool.
And so, but here was the deal. They said, but we will reshoot it.
Good.
And so I went again, and I went to Florida. And they shot it with a girl who actually ended up becoming a real life princess. She's on all the food shows right now, Lorraine Pascal. Okay. That's who I shot it with. Okay. And those ran all over the world. And also was the first time an African-American guy ran in like a single ad in Vogue. Like he particularly did all this stuff to make this statement and used me to do it. Okay. And so when this stuff started going down with him about the sexual stuff, people aren't only one thing, right? And that's when we talk about the societal stuff. That's what we all have to remember. People are not one thing. They're not one issue. The same guy who, listen, he needs to work out this stuff. It's not cut and dry on either side. Been there, seen it, done it all. But he was the only one that stood up for the first ever African-American man to appear in advertisements that were redefining, or not, I don't even want to use that word. I want to say giving voice to what else is beautiful in the world.
Yeah. And to me, and Jason, to me, that's very, very important in the sense that, I think you were going to like people being judged by like a whole body of work in this society today where you're like, I'm like a good guy my whole life, right? I do one thing wrong. And it's crazy that the only thing highlighted is the one thing you do wrong. And then you could have someone that's a total D-hole, and he's been an asshole all his life. He does one thing right, and that's the guy to get the ticker tape parade. So it's very, very weird how we as humans, I don't know if it's a societal thing or if it's just a recency, this generation of people, or just how people choose to think about that stuff.
Well, it's a sign of the times, right? And it's, technological gaps can exist in different ways. And right now there's an ideological technical gap in the sense that people haven't quite caught up to what these platforms, these informational platforms mean, and how powerful they are, and how they really thrive off of yellow press, right? Which was made illegal, but now there's no laws to affect, right?
Not only no law, no fucking filter.
No filter. Well, the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The laws were to create the filter, and so there is none. And so you realize, look, newspapers make money in times of war. They don't make money in times of peace. It's always been about sensationalism, but now you have this platform that's just completely unregulated. It's all over the world. And now we're all connected, billions and billions of people who are all connected by, one finger tap away. And it's hard to get a handle on, and all the fakery that goes on, and how people are duped and into thinking something's real and it's not real.
They also do a good job preying on the weak. I won't say the weak, but like the shelter. Like, look at Antonio Brown. That man, he has to realize that if you delete a tweet, they're still gonna know you said it. How many, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where they're gonna eat. Where I don't think he's an inherently bad or good guy. We're not gonna say great, or I'm not gonna say evil. I just think maybe entitled, but it's one of those things where I'm like, no one's gonna forgive you. You can't just tweet something and delete it. You can't, in this media, this world of technology, you can't unring a bell because they're unforgiving on people who we might consider good.
Money is made on the bells.
Right?
That's what's going to be taken and used to sell traffic.
No, but the point I was trying to make is they are over-prepared to trample on people who you and I might think are inherently good. I don't even think that guy's good. And that's and that, I guess that's
I look at Pittsburgh and they're winning, bro. That's when it comes down
Coach of the year.
When it comes down to athletes,
Coach of the year.
It's like, we all have players like that. I wish you were the player I needed you to be personality wise. I wish you were, because you're so good, but it's just not worth it.
Dude's Coach of the year.
It's just not worth it.
Coach of the year. His diva left to Oakland, then to the Patriots, and then nowhere, floating in outer space. His quarterback, the Roethlisberger, he's out for the entire year.
Right.
Le'Veon Bell sat out last year and now is with the Jets, no less.
It's good, Jason.
It's good,
but this is all good, right?
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff is forcing us to look at ourselves. The whole thing with Weinstein is that it's forcing men to look at themselves, and it's forcing us to reconsider. Like, I know you've done it, man, and I have sat hours and hours just thinking about what I was raised to believe was masculine, and when I was I'm not talking about from my parents. I'm talking about from society, from movies, films, and all the other things that get dumped into the algorithm that matures us,
that shapes
right? That matures
that
us.
shapes our way of thinking.
Exactly. Because, you know, particularly my mom was like, hey, emotions are great, crying's okay. Don't you ever touch, you know, a woman without her, you know, consent. Yep. And for me, it was the opposite. Working with all these girls like that time, like I worked with, when I worked with Stephanie, like this.
Weren't you doing this?
No, like well, I'm saying, like, let's go back to this. That's why I bring that thing up with Stephanie Seymour, right? Here I am taking these. There was nothing less sexual in my entire life. Where you would think it would be like, oh my God. Every time I've worked with one of these women, I'm talking about the great beauties. I mean, Tyra, Naomi, Stephanie, Brandy. I just filmed with actually me as this was awkward, being the director, producer, writer, star, and executive producer in your own sex scene with Doris Morgado, who is one of the hottest, like, just most intelligent, funniest actresses ever. Like, being in all these positions, there was never once where it even crossed my mind to let a finger go out of place.
Sexual maturity.
Right. So that is when it comes down to, you know, people talking and all these comments, there's nothing that infuriates me more, because you realize what a low life you're dealing with. Yeah. Right. Just such a low life. Yeah. Right. And to use a position of power to get something that's so easily gotten. It's so easily gotten, man.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
You could get that anywhere, man. You know, and so you realize that it's a default of character. Because you can get that anywhere, man. Yeah. You know, so it was the fact that you wanted the power to make someone feel less than, because you feel so less than.
And at the end of the day, I think that's power is what it's all about. It's not even about sex. Because I think, like you just said, you're in the scene and she's sexy looking, and none of it had anything to do with sex. It's just about you cutting loose, having a good time. That. And bear with me on this one, that involves being sexually mature. Like there came an age in my life where every girl I looked at a big pair of boobs, and I'm like, oh my God, whatever. And then just after a while, you recognize someone's good looking or whatever, that even other girls are looking. Okay, and you don't want it for yourself. It's just that's cool, and that's whatever. And that's when I think certain people evolve. And the question is, what age do people do that? Do they do that at 16? Listen, Jason, I did it in my 20s.
No,
and man. Some people, maybe this guy, it never happened.
I think it's a process. It's a process, because I can't look back and say all my behavior has been perfect either. No, you know, that's what I mean about this thing and having such high profile people go down, as they should, you know, of forcing you to look and reflect and going, wow, you know, even though that my instances where I've acted upon something that particularly now would be seen as even more inappropriate, because I do say that goes both ways. Women have changed and men have changed in terms of what is allowable. Is that, you know, I would say, like, well, God, where did that thought even come from? And I'm not talking about like relationships or sexual conduct that wasn't wanted. I'm talking about where it was wanted. But I still looked at that woman in a particular way, or perceived her in a certain way, that I go, God, why would I even have that thought to where the relationship was not a whole relationship? It wasn't. I really wasn't so interested in who the person was. Hey, maybe she wasn't interested in who I was either. 100%. I've been on the abuser side too. Okay, I've been stalked. I've had those things. Okay, when you're a celebrity and whatnot, maybe you're a little good looking. Those things happen to you from the other side. So I've seen it both ways. But just looking at my own self and saying, like, where does this stuff come up from? And it keeps going back to objectification, right? Objectification of women, the language used, the images being used. And, you know, as we go forward, particularly now that I'm on the, you know, more and more on the image creation side, even when I was at creative director of Volleyball magazine and looking at, like, okay, these are my friends. They're the best players in the world. and started out with something super risque with Logan Tom, right? Who had been in FHM, who she had a, you know, kind of like an imaging modeling / whatever you want to call it, career beyond volleyball, outside of volleyball, and one of the greatest players ever. And going, Logan, what do you think about this? You know, I want to do something splashy. I want to do something that's going to be, she's like, yeah, it's great. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you kind of go and you're kind of like, you know, there is this line when you're creating these images that you know that other young men and other young women are going to be. And there's this line, okay, can you be sexy and powerful? Right? Is there something to be found there versus gratuitous, right? And a lot of times we're seeing a lot of the gratuitous stuff, and a lot of times it's forwarded by the women themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look at the Kardashian thing, or a lot of stuff that, you know, this imaging that the way they're going about it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
You know, there's a really fine line that we all have to look at and be honest with ourselves about.
Yeah. And there's also a fine line where someone is not knowing what they're doing, which is very rare, because half the time it's kind of one of those things you kind of know. I'll give you an example. I went out to dinner with this girl in college. I was at Marymount Manhattan. Actresses, you know, actors, dancers, you know, just this fame type environment. It's like fame, except it's college.
Well, and it's more open, and there's a physicality to it, because there's a physicality to what you're doing.
Yeah. So check this out. So I go on the date with her, and at the end, like, it was one of the few times, only 2 times in my entire life I actually made the first move. I never make the first move because of this shit. So I kissed her, right? And she didn't resist, but there was a part of me that she kissed me back because I felt like she was being accommodating. Like, she, you know, was awkward. What the hell? This ain't so bad. I'll kiss him back. And then I did it a second time. And then, like, 2 weeks later, I just came up to her. I said, listen, I just wanted to have that conversation. I'm like, I felt like you didn't want to do it, and I did it. If that's what happened, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I wasn't trying to do that. And you know what she said to me? She said, thank you so much.
Right.
I said, thank you so much. And she said, I will go out with you again.
Which just kills you.
And then from that point on, because that was the second time. The first time it happened, a girl was like, hey, nigga, you high? I want to kiss you, you know? Right. Why did you do that?
Right.
Why did you? Oh, my God. So that was the first time. The second time I did it, it was even worse, because she didn't do this. She was accommodating. I said, I'm lucky to have Kelly.
It's hard.
I had an introvert.
Yeah.
No way the hell me and this girl should be together. She's an introvert that would never make the first move. And me, I psychologically won't. And somehow we wound up together too. Yeah. So that's just an interesting story as far as levels of thinking. In my biased mind, I'm always thinking to the guy, you fucking know better. You know what you did. You know, and maybe I'm not. Maybe some people, they just got something wrong upstairs. But always in my mind, my it's not even recency bias. I just call it bias. Bro, I'm like, bro, you know what you did.
Yeah.
You know what you did. Yeah. Stop. Stop, man. So, and that's where I come off on this whole Weinstein. I know it, you know it, and he should have fucking known.
Well, yeah, and you know, because I've been doing this we've been dealing with this explicitly, right?
Yeah.
And it's comedy, and so you're allowed to go deeper in some ways, and then some ways you really got to watch out and really, like, how is the woman responding to it, and how do you make whole characters? How do you not turn the people who are in it into caricatures, right? So we've been
like Al Franken.
Yeah, well, we've really been dealing with it. You know, this is going on 2.5 years now, and I mean, the thing is finally getting out of editing, you know, in the next month. And you realize that a lot of life is gray.
Yeah.
And you know, whereas this dude, there might have been 3 or 4 that went along with it. There was another, you know, 10 to 20 that 100% were not, and it was just, you know, it was just this kind of a predator prey thing. But there is a lot in our culture. What it has come down to for me of realizing that it sets women up as prey and men as hunters in terms of sexual relationships, and it's very dangerous. And it hit the wall.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm glad that it hit the wall. It needed, I knew that it was bad because you could just look at the statistics. I would get in arguments. I lost girlfriends of mine, that actresses, right, very beautiful women, when I would say to them, listen, you can't just jump in a guy's car that you don't know, or they would, or you know, the thing happened with the girl with went passed out at the fraternity and got taken advantage of. I'm like, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? They can't take advantage of me is what you should be saying. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm going to say, because if you look at it and there's 3 rapes, there's a rape every 3 seconds. That's like saying that you're going to cut your leg open, you're going to jump in the water in the Bahamas, and the shark shouldn't attack you because it should know that you're not a SEAL. That might be right, but that doesn't stop you from getting abused. Yeah. So and there has to be a level conversation on both sides. Mm-hmm. Hey, girls, protect yourself. Right? Yeah. Don't put yourself in this situation. I've seen it, and again, from the fashion, I've seen it happen to guys. It's not a gender issue. It is a prey and predator issue. Yeah. And if you put yourself into an incapacitated situation, you're putting yourself into a situation to be taken advantage of.
And that's a real.
And then there's the other side, which is completely separate, which is that there's diabolical, just savages out
inherently there. Bad people.
And they can be really successful.
Yeah.
Or homeless. Then they can be both. That one has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Wow. So, 2 minutes before we close up shop. This is only supposed to be an hour, but come on, when we get 2 Jasons together, look what happens. If you want something upstairs, I got stuff to drink over there, and I actually had a bottle of water that was frozen. I meant to give to you. I wanted to chill it. And it's like this big block of ice. So if you want, maybe Brian might be a little late in the house with them, but maybe if you want, you go upstairs. Hey, put the camera on her, Verzak, zoom in. That's Jason. That's Jason's daughter, volleyball, new volleyball goddess. Before you go, tell us about St. Bernard's, and you guys won your regionals.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a wild. This team was like 2-18 last year, and a couple of the girls came in the gym when I was training the boys, which was hilarious because they were all basketball guys. And actually, right now, let me add this. Long Beach State has a kid on their basketball team who's starting that could be their heaviest hitter on their volleyball team.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there for everybody to understand. This kid, Ramel Manzel, who's starting for the Long Beach State basketball team right now, is one of the hardest hitters I have ever seen in the sport of volleyball. Yeah. And I just couldn't convince him to go knock on Alan's door. He won't do it. Alan, go grab him. He's unbelievable. Been playing volleyball since he was in 6th grade, 6'9", touches 12'3", 12'4", and an arm swing that is just absolutely scary. Never played in college with a guy on my team with a guy who hit the ball as hard as he does. Anyway, so they went and they won the league because we just set him every single ball. But the girls would come in. I said, "There's no way these girls are 2-18. They're skilled. They can actually pass. My boys can't even pass." Yeah. And we're playing in low league. We're in a low division. And then you got into it and realized that it had just been a dysfunctional program for several years. I think they went through three coaches in 4 years or something, and there's just a lot of dysfunction. So there was a lot to clean up, and then all of a sudden they started buying in, and they went on this run and made it to semis. They lost in 5, a tough one.
But isn't it almost
to go to
surreal,
semis?
though?
But they qualified for state. So now, after 2-3 decades, I don't know how long it's been, but now we play our first state playoff game. Tomorrow. Thank you. Tomorrow. Yeah, I got practice in an hour here.
Jesus
and
Christ,
so it's going to be super exciting. And they've actually just 2 weeks ago. So the first thing I did, whenever I bring a new group in, I show them something that's so far away from their ability on the first day. So first day, we started doing audibles on the first day. They're like, "This doesn't make sense. What are you doing? This isn't volleyball." Literally told me this wasn't volleyball. I said, "Okay." So now we just went back to audibles, and now they're audibling. So I think we're going to run a free ball audible offense. I think we're going to see it show up tomorrow, which would be completely out of this world because I have at least one girl who actually could go D2 for sure, and might make a D1 team. And they're all sophomores, and so it's going to be really exciting now that they've kind of bought into like, okay, this is volleyball. And for me, it's just so interesting. It's an all black volleyball team, and we haven't seen more than one black girl on a volleyball team that we've played in playoffs.
Certainly not in the West.
Not yet. When we play our preseason, we do because we'll go play in Carson and Gardena and those areas. Yeah. But so far we haven't. And so for me, it's pretty interesting, and it's kind of a historical thing. And we've had a lot of beautiful things, happen in the gym win and loss from visiting teams and whatnot. It's been, I think, very healing to have all this stuff go in our gym.
Yeah. Chi DiMaggio, if you remember her and I built Patricia. She's Helena's friend, Rick Amon, Raphael, part of that.
Yeah.
Her and I built
Rick really well.
He's so fucking cool. Coolest Puerto Rican ever. It's him, Amaury, Velasco. We built a program from the ground up, City Tech, and the entire team was like African American and Latino.
Yeah, Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans in New York.
It's more in New York than San Juan.
Patrick Dietz.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Dietz ended up being Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh wow, yeah, I remember those guys. Yeah,
and, Flacco, Eugene.
Yeah. You guys. I thought you guys were complete wackos. When I went down to that New York, when I went down, urban volleyball, and then volleyball at the park in New York, and it saved my sanity because I was like, because I look at you guys and I was so full of prejudices, man. And, in volleyball prejudices,
of course.
And then you guys started playing. I was like, oh shit, these guys can play. They can play. I was like, wow. And
but
who was the passer? Smaller guy, really good on the beach. Elvis.
Oh, God,
man.
God.
Elvis.
Crazy Dominican.
Yeah,
man. He was king for a long time.
Yeah.
Man. But Chi and I we built a program that was predominantly African American. We took two great players, Eugene, because he ended up playing
Big Middle.
He ended up playing for Balmesa, who, by the way, won the adult nationals twice. So Ulysses is heading up the program. I actually sat for him a little bit.
Tall, really thin, right? Yeah.
We call him Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco. Okay, that was Flacco. Yeah.
So we got two guys that could play, and we built the team around them. Eugene registered for classes 10 minutes before the first game. He was our sixth. So I definitely appreciate doing, like the diversity and putting that out there and just seeing how they blend and whatever. And you're doing a magnificent job. Yeah. One more plug before I got to go. Got to thank Alan Knight for when I first moved here, allowed me to be an evaluation coach for high performance tryouts for the U.S. national team for the 18s, I think, like that. So big up for him because he didn't know me.
That dude coaches like he plays.
He just went on Chi's word, Chi and someone else said, like, you'll like this guy. So I really mad respect for him for that.
Yeah, just an incredibly intense player, and he coaches just how he played. It's so fun to watch.
We might have to do this in two parts because one whole section was volleyball, and then, like you said, I just drove us both off the Mulholland Drive. So, listen, thank you very much. This is Spencer Isley, my tech guest, and for all of you at home watching, for everybody on their iPad at Starbucks, for everybody on their iPhone, and for Jason, all of my guests, I am Jason DeBeas, and I say, love all of yous.